Democratic lawmakers in California are trying really hard to drive police officers away from their careers. So, the California Attorney General in, California, obviously, is launching teams to investigate officer-involved shootings. Now, this is the result of policymakers, lawmakers in California enacting legislation which dictates that the California Attorney General is to investigate all police use of force incidents where an unarmed person was killed. Now, I understand that there is a certain reaction that is elicited when an unarmed person is killed by police. I get that. However, this seems like another attempt to avoid actually diagnosing the root problem, which is holding criminals accountable, and instead focus on, well, maybe there's a corrupt system of law enforcement officers. Maybe there's a flaw in our judicial system. Maybe there is something that we need to look into more closely with our police departments. Okay, this is going to drive good men and women cops out of their work, out of their careers, out of their chosen professions. Good men and women who are willing and able to do the job that not many people are willing and able to do, especially in California. Places like Los Angeles, San Francisco, Stockton, those places already have high crime rates. But now instead of figuring out a way to stop the crime or prevent crime, or maybe somehow deter crime with, I don't know, harsher penalties, something to that effect. Instead of focusing on that, they're turning their attention to the police officers, the people that actually keep the community safe, the people who are responsible for apprehending criminals after they commit crimes, especially murders. But no, instead of focusing on the criminals and holding them accountable, we have to figure out a way to make it look like the police are somehow culpable and responsible for the death of these people who pose a deadly threat, and then force the police to shoot them. Somehow we have to figure out a way to make it look like the police are corrupt, and I think that's exactly what's going on with this bill that has been passed. So this is California Attorney General Rob Bonta in Sacramento during a news conference, kind of explaining how this investigative process is going to work whenever there's a police shooting. Now, the important thing to note here is that this new law was authored by, here, I'll highlight this paragraph. Authored by Assemblyman Kevin McCarty, Democrat from Sacramento, not surprisingly. He said he was concerned that the State Department of Justice had denied requests from some community leaders to undertake independent investigations of several high-profile shootings. Well, okay, the problem is, it's not necessarily a problem. That's normally how police shootings or investigations work. If there's an officer-involved shooting, an outside agency comes in to investigate. So let's say a local police department shoots and kills someone in the course of their duty. An outside agency, like a state agency or a county agency, will come in and investigate. Doesn't mean the officer's partners or coworkers are investigating his shooting. People that he does not work with, normally, from an outside agency, will come in and do the investigation. And then once the investigation is complete, they report their findings to the district attorney in that county, whatever county the incident took place in, and the district attorney decides whether or not charges are warranted. That's how this has always gone. But just like we saw in places like Portland, where they were assigning special prosecutors, when the riots and the looting was going on in Portland, you had special prosecutors assigned to try and prosecute the officers who were responsible for riot control, right? Because there was this narrative that the police were attacking and fabricating charges against quote-unquote peaceful protesters. So they assigned special prosecutors and circumvented the normal course of the investigative and judicial process. And when you do that, that usually means that there's an ulterior motive, and we know what the ulterior motive is that they were trying to push the narrative that there's systemic racism in policing and that these police officers must have done something wrong if they used force against people who were out smashing windows, throwing bricks at law enforcement, and lighting fires in the middle of a city. So this new law, authored by Assemblyman Kevin McCarty, is just another arrow in the quiver of the radical leftists trying to promote their ideologies and radical policy prescriptions. So the Department of Justice denied requests from some, I don't know who these community leaders are that he's talking about, if he's talking about mayors or city council persons, to do an independent investigation of several high-profile shootings. Now, he doesn't mention what these high-profile shootings were either. But this is just a way to, again, circumvent the normal procedure for these types of incidents in order to attempt to somehow find fault on the part of police officers. Now, what do you think the outcome of this is going to be? Do you think police officers are going to be happy with this? Now, in this article, it does say that there are some sheriffs who are more than happy to cooperate with this, but when you have frontline officers whose job is already difficult enough and who are already under enough scrutiny, especially, like I said, in some of these more urban areas where it's much more dangerous to be a police officer, and they're putting their lives on the line literally every time they go in for their shift. Now they have to worry about, even more so, that there is going to be just an extra level of scrutiny from the Department of Justice whenever they have to use their firearm to defend themselves. So this anti-police, now obviously it doesn't say anywhere in this article that this is an anti-police, defund the police narrative that's being pushed, but we can read between the lines with this, and it's not surprising that this is taking place in California first. So what is it exactly that these politicians are? I mean, what's the end goal here? Do they really believe that there is just this ubiquitous corruption in the law enforcement community, that all police officers are systemically racist, and every time they have to use force, that they're somehow trying to cover up something, trying to cover up bad behavior or unjustified use of force? I mean, what is it? Why don't they just come out and say it? What is the purpose of this? And you have to keep in mind, too, that it was just last year that funding was cut from departments like the California Highway Patrol. And now they're going to spend, I think they said it was like $26 million for these special investigative teams to be able to investigate all of the shootings in the state of California involving police officers. So what is it exactly that they think they are going to find, I wonder? Has there been any evidence at all of widespread corruption in the police force? Now, if you watch mainstream media, sure. Yeah, if you watch CNN, absolutely, because they would have you believe that police officers shoot and kill unarmed black men during every shift. Several unarmed black men during every shift. Every police officer in the United States does that on a daily basis. And that's just not reality. It's not the case. And people with good common sense and critical thinking skills and logic who are able to do just a little bit of research know that. It baffles me that we still have people in office in places like California who are willing to pass these ridiculous laws and spend money trying to enforce them when they've defunded their police departments in California and crime rates are through the roof in some places like San Francisco. I'm wondering, I would love to hear from a lot of the business owners, especially in places like San Francisco, where they're refusing to prosecute theft crimes, and people are literally walking into stores, cleaning out the shelves and walking out, and there's nothing that anybody can do about it because they're not going to prosecute those. It's no wonder people are leaving California in droves and moving to places like Idaho and Utah, because these democratic leftist policies are literally destroying the state of California. We can't keep ignoring the problem. We can't keep ignoring the issue of crime and criminals and being afraid to hold criminals accountable because we're going to be accused of discrimination and racism and corruption. That's not how this system works. If you keep misidentifying the problem, which is a common thing on the left, misidentifying the problem, claiming that The problem lies with police officers, that police officers are the real criminals and that the criminals are the victims. And that we have to flip the script on police officers and scrutinize them even more heavily and pander to minority groups in order to push this, continue to push this narrative. Okay, that I don't know. I guess everybody on the left, they're the party of tolerance and inclusivity, and they understand that it's not the criminal's fault; it's society's fault. It's society's fault that they chose to commit crimes, and the police officers are the bad, evil, excessive force using thugs who are out enforcing apparently these unconstitutional laws. I mean, that's the next logical step in this narrative, right? Because police officers don't make the laws, they enforce them. So the laws, if the laws they're enforcing are racist, does that mean the legislators that enacted these laws are racist as well? I mean, everybody can't be racist, or can they? I want to shine a little light on this incident here now. So in Wichita, Kansas, this young woman right here, who you can see is pregnant in this photo, was driving in her car yesterday, July 7th, and was struck by a vehicle that was being driven by a robbery suspect. He was fleeing the scene of a robbery as cops approached to investigate. He struck her car with his truck, and she died. She was pregnant. The baby was listed as in critical condition. Now, what's interesting about this article, and I'm sure about every other article that has covered this story, is that here we have a white woman who was killed. Now, there's no mention of anybody's race anywhere in this article. Now, normally this would not be an issue. It wouldn't be a big deal. It wouldn't even be worth mentioning. However, the left mainstream media has sort of set a precedent with this. Every time a black man is shot by a white cop, we have to make sure and mention the race of the victim or the suspect and the race of the cop, as long as it's a white cop and a black suspect. But you don't see any mention of anybody's race in this article. Now, again, like I said, normally it wouldn't even be worth mentioning. But we have to combat this sentiment that, well, I mean, now it's just that America is inherently racist and all white people are racist, and especially the white cops are racist and corrupt. So here's a picture of the truck. I believe that's her truck. Down below, that's a picture of the suspect vehicle. I mean, obviously, he hit her pretty hard to do this much damage to her vehicle and then do this much damage to his vehicle and then roll it. There's the suspect. Javon Jermaine Irvin. Okay, his mugshot was put way down in the bottom of the article, because we're not allowed to say that a black man is in fact black. Somehow that's racist. Somehow it's racist to point out that this person, this suspect, this robbery suspect, is black. And I know that's what a lot of police departments are following that trend. Whenever you have a black suspect who's accused or suspected of committing a crime, and information has to be relayed to other officers or other agencies regarding the suspect, they're not allowed to say his race if he's black, because that's racist. And it's just a bizarro world that we live in, and just this type of stuff, these types of policies just make it that much harder for police officers to do their job and catch the bad guys and protect the citizens of their community. When we have to pander to this idea that that by simply saying a black man is black, that's racist. There is a paragraph in here. Let's see, right here. One of our officers. So this is obviously a quote from one of the officers from the Wichita Police Department. Captain Paul Duff said one of our officers got behind the suspect vehicle, in an attempt to pursue, but it was quickly disregarded by the supervisor. The officer immediately turned around and went back to help the original officer who was taking the other robbery suspect. So what that means is, it's not uncommon for a police department to have a policy regarding vehicle pursuits. to have the officer terminate the pursuit with regard to the safety of the community. Vehicle pursuits are very dangerous, and if it's in an urban area, in residential areas where the streets are very crowded, the traffic is very congested, it's likely that that pursuit will end up with one or more people getting hurt or killed, whether it's by a car crash, whether it's by a vehicle striking a pedestrian, because usually when the officers pursue the suspect, that the suspects are now inclined to drive even faster in order to get away, and the faster they drive, the less control they have over the vehicle, and the more likely they are to get into an accident and kill themselves or kill somebody else. So a lot of vehicle pursuits are terminated by the supervisor for that reason. So I think that's what this paragraph right here in this article is referring to, with the quote from the captain of the Wichita Police Department. Now, unfortunately, letting the suspect go, he still struck someone's vehicle and killed the pregnant woman inside. Let's see if I can find out her name. Samantha Russell. So Samantha Russell, her husband Brandon, and of course their baby, who was saved for the moment. He's still in critical condition. But this is just very typical of the left to, take a tragic incident like this. Well, they did nothing with this incident. There was no report on it. The only way I found out about this incident was a friend of mine sent me the article and said, "Hey, did you hear about this?" Of course I didn't hear about it. I didn't hear about it on any mainstream news outlets. Certainly CNN or NBC is not going to report on this because of this right here. Because we can't report that a black man has committed a crime, because that would be racist. It's getting out of hand. And this is the very reason, this article right here, this incident right here, is the very reason that we have to focus on criminals and their criminality, not on police officers and the way they do their job. Now, I'm not saying that police officers don't need supervision and they don't need oversight and there doesn't need to be some level of scrutiny. But if you keep adding levels of scrutiny to the law enforcement industry while simultaneously disregarding the criminality of certain people, of criminals who are committing crimes, especially crimes like these against innocent persons, you're never going to solve the problem. You're never going to lower your crime rates. And you're never going to fix the problem that's been identified by the left as black men being shot and killed by white police officers. Okay, that's a problem according to them. Now, I'm not saying that I am pleased whenever a black man is shot by a white officer. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is the real problem is a cultural dysfunction within certain groups in the United States. The cultural dysfunction is entitlement and the belief that the rules do not apply to you and you are exempt from any consequences or repercussions as the result of your criminal behavior. That's the problem. But that's not the problem that anybody wants to deal with. That's not the problem the left wants to deal with. They want to make it the police officer's fault. So this is a very tragic situation for Brandon Russell and their newborn son. Samantha Russell, again, she was the female victim of this car crash. Oh, and by the way, just so everybody knows, the suspect in this case, he was booked for first-degree murder right here. First-degree murder and commission of a felony, aggravated battery, and criminal possession of a firearm. Okay, so, and they list his records show that Irvin has a prior aggravated battery conviction and 4 robbery convictions. He's been in and out of prison since 2004 and was last released when his sentence expired on June 15th. So why don't we figure that out? Why don't we figure out how a man like this, with all of these criminal convictions, gets out of prison, commits more crimes, and then in the commission of a felony, kills an innocent woman and almost kills her baby. That's what we need to figure out. That's what needs to be dealt with. It's not the police. The police are not the problem. Okay? This guy is the problem. This guy. He's the problem. And people like him. Whether they're black, whether they're brown, white, whatever. It's the criminal behavior that needs to be dealt with. There's a GoFundMe fundraiser for the Russell family. As you can see, there's a goal of $50,000. That's been met and surpassed by a little bit, but I am going to donate to this GoFundMe. I hope you all will too. I will put the link in the description section of this video, and I hope you would all donate and help support the Russell family. Brandon is now a single father. He has a newborn baby to raise. $50,000 can be a lot of money, but it's not very much when you think about what it takes to raise a baby until they are an adult. So thoughts and prayers go out to this family. That's all for today. We'll see everybody next time. Also, if you guys haven't ordered my book yet, Never Off Duty, it's available for pre-order still. It will be released in September. I will also put the link to the pre-order site in the description section of this video. If you guys want a copy of it so that you can get a revealing look at what it's like to be a police officer in the year 2021 and all of the intricacies and nuances surrounding that profession, go in and order the my book, Never Off Duty, from D'Angelo Publications. Again, the link will be in the description section. Thank you, everyone.